Polkadot's native token called DOT recovered around 7% in the past 24 hours. But before I get into that, I first want to talk about how there was this post recently by Chainspect which showcased how Polkadot, even in 2026, has 9,078 developers. What the? We gotta let that sink in. That's massive. It's at the point where, according to this chart, Polkadot was ranked third in the world in 2026 in terms of active developers. So when people like to say, oh, Polkadot got forgotten about, it's cooked. Well, really? That many developers still allegedly care about it. And I'll talk about what I think about this in today's video. And again, I'll talk about the price really soon when it comes to DOT. But I first want to clarify, I'm not telling anyone to do anything, and nothing I say is financial advice. This is just my personal review, perspective, and thoughts when it comes to this. However, people like to tell me, well, did that post cause DOT to recover like that? Over 7% in the past 24 hours. No, that post was a couple days ago, but I think it's a combination of DOT just being low for quite a while and then the market slightly recovering, because we're seeing a lot of altcoins, as of right now, recover too. But here's the thing. We have to consider just how massive of a monumental milestone Polkadot as of right now, seeing that many active developers in 2026. Like, that's quite legendary. It's at the point where Polkadot in 2026, allegedly, according to Chainspect, had more active developers than Cardano, even allegedly Bitcoin. Take a look at Hedera, Stellar, Tezos, Kronos. I mean, wow. Like, who would have thought that, right? A lot of people thought, oh, people are leaving Polkadot, but allegedly in 2026, a lot of developers still care. And what have I been saying this entire time? Things sometimes don't really matter until they maybe do in some arguable cases, hypothetically speaking. So when people were telling me this entire time, oh, Polkadot 2.0 didn't matter. Oh, Polkadot having the Polkadot DevNet, they said, oh, that's not going to matter. And then they also said, oh, when it was clarified how the maximum supply when it comes to DOT was going to be 2.1 billion, they said, oh, that didn't matter. Well, okay, that type of stuff may not matter if the market's not doing good. However, if the market were to recover, people start taking a look back at that type of stuff, right? So we gotta let that sink in sometimes. These updates sometimes don't really matter until maybe sometimes they do. So this is what I realized when it comes to Polkadot. This project, in terms of the use case, is not completely washed like that. Like, a lot of developers still seem to care about this in a sense where, if they clearly didn't care about this at all, wouldn't it make more sense that maybe Polkadot only saw 50 or let's say 100 active developers in 2026? If people truly didn't care about it, I guess that would be the number, right? But allegedly seeing over 9,000 inactive developers in 2026, like, that's really impressive. And I think sometimes people are so fixated on seeing something like Moonbeam leave Polkadot, right? Because I already made a video on that. Moonbeam, historically, one of the most popular projects on Polkadot, announcing that they were going to be leaving, people thought, oh, that means all developers don't care. Well, apparently, over 9,000 active developers in 2026. Now, people like to tell me, okay, but that doesn't really mean much when it comes to Polkadot. Again, sometimes that type of stuff doesn't matter until maybe it does, because that means more people are trying to build on that specific place. And the more that is being built, the more probability that whatever they do build could gain traction, right? And if it gains traction, it kind of brings that place along with the ride. So the more developers in a certain place, I don't find it to be a bad thing. And it showcases that these developers may care about the fundamentals when it comes to Polkadot, at least to a certain extent, or not, that wouldn't be even a possibility, in my opinion. These numbers are not a projection. These numbers are what is being seen in 2026, right? At least according to Chainspect. But I digress. Keep in mind, DOT is only at around 80 cents with this recovery. Am I happy with this recovery? Of course, I'm not going to complain. But at the same time, DOT is still very low when compared to just last year and even the year before. It's still very, very low. If we take a look at it, DOT, the market cap is still at around almost 1.4 billion, right? In December 2024, the market cap was 16 billion. So we're still over 10 times away from that. Here's the thing. I think this kind of showcases that even with this recovery, DOT, the journey back to 2024 is still very long. If this was like a movie, it feels like there's still about 3 hours left. In the meantime, I'm still focusing on the fundamentals. I'm still focusing on the use case because I think that is what is going to allow a project to survive, anyways. Typically, if the market is not doing the best, because if the hype and the attention is gone, what does the project have left? It's the use case and the fundamentals. If that doesn't have that covered, then it's kind of cooked, in my opinion, just because projects, they need a certain, I guess, aspect to it that allows for it to become relevant or even still survive, right? Either it's very popular, either it's very trendy, either it's very cool, or the use case has to be there. Polkadot is not the coolest project of all time, but at least the use case is there. Polkadot is focused on interoperability. Keep in mind, historically speaking, it's focused on connecting blockchains together, basically. So the use case is there. And in terms of interoperability, we're talking about a project here that is still the most popular within that niche. The second most popular is arguably Cosmos. Quant is there to a certain extent as well. But Polkadot still holds that number one most popular project within its own niche of interoperability. And again, usually projects that have a good use case and are pretty popular within their own niche don't typically get forgotten about like that if the market were to recover. We've seen time and time again. In 2021, when the market was doing good, Polkadot, it went along with the ride. Now, when the market went down, this also went down. But in 2024, when things recovered, this also kind of went along with the ride. And as of right now, altcoins are recovering a little bit. DOT is recovering a little bit. So we've seen in the past that Polkadot tends to sometimes go along with the market. Yes, it could also go down, like what we've seen in the past, but it kind of moves along with the market. We've seen that. So it's not a project that historically has been forgotten about like that. Like Polkadot hasn't been irrelevant ever since 2021. Like it just hasn't. Like ever since 2021, this has pretty much kind of, you know, mirrored the market to a certain extent. And also, DOT has over 1 million holders. That's a lot of individuals, right? When it comes to Polkadot, it has a massive community, a lot of developers, over 9,000 allegedly that are active this year when it comes to Polkadot, according to ChainSpec. And also, it recovered over 7% in the past 24 hours. But you know what? Nonetheless, I'm still waiting. I'm still holding because, again, like I mentioned before, if let's say DOT were to go back to its peak in 2024, which it's over 10 times away from that, but if it could go back there, I'd go to Sizzler, you know, the restaurant. However, besides that point, the journey back to there is still quite long. So I'm just going to still wait and hold, even though I don't have to, but I'm still staying patient as of right now. I'll be sure to make more updates moving forward, though. I want to say thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have a very wonderful and amazing day. It's been Lee the Captain.